Mr. Graham, homework help. You get homework help. Let's start. Welcome, class. Welcome to the homework help video. You should be on page 106 and 107. So let's get started right away. Look at this problem. The Chase family is driving 3,000 miles across the country. They plan on driving for 5 days. Traveling the same distance each day, how many miles will the Chase family drive each day? So they have their total, and they're cutting that into 5 distinct pieces. So this is all the miles they drive, and these are the days that they drive. Let's look at the questions just below this model and see what they ask. What division equation can be used to solve this problem? Well, you've got 3,000 and you've got 5. So if they're talking division, it should be pretty clear that they want you to do 3,000 divided by 5 equals, what is the related multiplication equation? Well, first we got to figure out what the answer to that division problem is. So think about it. They have 3,000 and they're dividing it into 5 different spots. And one way to think about it is to take your 3,000, this is one way, not the only way, but one way, and to put it inside of a division box. Then you put the 5 on the outside of the box. Ask yourself, how many times does 5 go into just 30? Just 30. 5 into 30. Count by 5s if you can't figure it out. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. We counted by 5s 6 times. After that, it's actually quite simple what you do next. Because there's just zeros right here, you can just go, oh, alright, that's going to be 600. So in every one of these little boxes, there should be a 600 in all of them. Every single one gets a 600. So we go back to these questions, and 3,000 divided by 5 equals 600 is our answer. What is the related multiplication equation? Well, division and multiplication are like they're inverse operations. They're like mirror images. So you just have to work backwards. Take that 600, multiply it by 5, and that equals 3,000. Notice the differences and the similarities between this equation and this equation. They use the same numbers, they're just kind of backwards from each other. And of course, division and multiplication are like backwards operations, inverse operations. What basic multiplication fact can you use to help you find the answer? Well, even though there's a whole bunch of zeros on these problems, doesn't this remind you of a more simple fact that has no zeros at all? Imagine all these zeros were gone, and all you had was a 6 times 5. And that equals 30. So all these zeros as a part of the equation, they don't change much. All they do is add a couple more zeros to an answer. But it's still the same kind of work. 6 times 5, 600 times 5. 6 times 5 is 30. 600 times 5 is 30 with a couple more zeros added on, or 3,000. You should be able to see how they're related. Look at the product of the basic fact. Product is answer, that's that 30 right there. How many zeros need to be tacked on to take this number to 3,000? Well, it's already 30, so it already has a 3 and a 0. But to get to 3,000, it would need how many more zeros? 2. What place values includes this number of zeros? What place value includes this number of zeros? Well, 1,000? I don't know what they mean by that. What place value includes this number of zeros? Oh, I get it. So how high does it have to? How high does the place value have to go to have that many zeros? So I guess it's thousands. The thousands place has that many zeros. If you divide 30 hundreds into 5 equal groups, how many hundreds in each group? In other words, what's 30 divided by 5? 6. Because 6 times 5 also equals 30. That's why knowing your multiplication tables is so helpful. Explain how to find the number of miles the Chase family will drive each day. Well, we did that in the beginning. And all we did was we thought about the inverse operation. We thought about the backwards. So all you have to do is this. You have to know that 6 times 5 equals 30. But since we're not dealing with 30, we're dealing with 3,000. The number we need isn't 6. It is 6 with 2 more zeros tacked on, or in other words, 600. And that's something that if you don't see right away, it takes practice to get better at it, and we will practice it. Explain how an area model shows both multiplication and division. Remember, an area model, like the one in this problem that we're dealing with, has like the big number on top, then it has a box for how many pieces there are. This is the same thing that we dealt with in the beginning of our homework. And then inside the box it has how much each piece is worth, the value of each piece. And I could keep going, but just know that those are all 600. So it shows multiplication and division like this. Watch. Division goes like this. 3,000 divided by how many pieces there are, which is 5, equals the value of the pieces, which is 600. Meanwhile, multiplication goes like this. How many pieces are there? 5. How much is each piece worth? 600. And what was the total on top? 3,000. So you see how multiplication and division, they both live in an area model, but the order is like reversed. The order is different. An area model shows both. An area model shows both because it uses the same numbers but in an inverse, which means backwards, operation. And if you look closely, you'll see that, oh look, these are kind of backwards from each other. They're a little bit different, aren't they? Alright guys, that's all the time we have for today. Short homework on Monday. We'll see some more tomorrow.